So for the tricorder, I just took an old transistor radio, and you can find these at flea markets and secondhand shops. And then I just hot glued black material around the outsides and the back of it. And so then I just took an old belt and attached it to the sides with some wreath wire. So then for the communicator, just get yourself one of those boxes of tacks. And you'll just remove the tacks from the box and set those aside. And then you're just going to paint the inside of the bottom of the box. And I say paint the inside because that way it keeps the shiny look from the outside. So you just go through and paint that with some black paint. And so as you can see, it still looks shiny from the outside. Then you'll just paint the little hinges of the tack box, and you'll paint those on the outside because you can't reach the inside, obviously. You'll do both sides. And then just leave that to dry. So next, get yourself some very thin foam, and you're just going to push the bottom of the tack box into it to make an impression. And then just cut out along the lines of the impression. You'll want to cut 2 of those. Then you'll cut a small rectangular piece that covers about the third of the larger piece. And you'll want to cut 2 of those as well, so you should have 4 pieces now. So put one of the large pieces in the bottom of the box, and then take one of the smaller rectangles. You just put a little hot glue on it. And stick that right in the bottom of the box as well. And then you'll take the second piece of the smaller rectangle and stick that right on top of the first one. Then you'll take the second large piece, cover half of it in hot glue. You only want to do half because otherwise the foam starts to melt if you try to do it for too long. And lay that right over the others. And then just glue down the remaining half. So then cut yourself a piece of cardboard that will fit right on the top part of the bottom of the communicator, right before it starts to curve downward. Then you'll cover that piece of cardboard, you'll put a piece of tin foil around it and fold it just so you can see the outline of where the cardboard will be, but don't fold it all the way around it yet. There you can see the outline. And so then you'll just cut a square out of that piece of tin foil, making sure not to go past the lines of the cardboard outline. And so there's the square. Then get yourself something that looks like a grating. I'm using the bottom of a Russell Stover's box here actually because it looks like speaker grating. Put a little bit of glue on the back of it. You can't use hot glue for this because it will melt the plastic. So just some regular glue. And then just glue that right to your piece of cardboard. And then put your cardboard in your tin foil, making sure that the grating sticks out through the hole, and then fold the tin foil around your piece of cardboard. And then you'll just set that aside and we'll come back to that later. So go back to your thin foam and cut out a circle. I'm using the top of an old film canister here, so something about that size. And then you'll use the same size to cut out a piece of cardboard in a circle. And on the cardboard circle you'll draw another circle about 1/8 from the edge, and you'll just cut that out. So you end up with a little cardboard ring. Go back to your foam circle and cover it in a piece of tin foil. Smooth out any rough edges. And then cover the cardboard ring in a piece of tin foil as well. And it's easiest if you fold the outside edges around first. And then cut out the interior and do the same thing. And so then just Google Star Trek Communicator and you'll end up with a picture of the swirls. Just cut that out. And you're just going to hot glue the picture of the swirls to your tinfoil covered piece of foam. Make sure you print it so it's the same size as your tinfoil circle there. Then go back to your cardboard ring that's now covered in tinfoil. Put a little bit of hot glue on that. And stick that right over the swirls. So then you'll just hot glue, put a little hot glue on the back of the whole thing, and stick that right in the center, the top of your tacks box. Then go back to your tinfoil covered rectangle and put some hot glue on the back of that. And stick it right on the ridge of the communicator. The grating should be on the left-hand side. So then get yourself a couple of snaps. And just put a little hot glue on the back of them. And put those on the right-hand side of your tinfoil covered rectangle. And those will represent the dials of the communicators. You'll do that to both of the snaps. Then get yourself the receiving end of the snaps. You'll put some glue on the back of those. And you'll stick those right where the communicator starts to ridge. And while the glue is still warm, stick a red dot right in the center of that. And those will be used as the indicator lights. You'll do the same thing for a blue bead. These are just regular plastic beads that I'm using for the indicator lights. And then of course you'll do a yellow on the right hand side. So next go back to your Russell Stover's box. You're going to cut out a large piece of the bottom of it that will fit over the top of your communicator. That's going to be the gold grating that goes over the top. In my case, I couldn't find a piece that was big enough to go all the way across. It's got these little cone-shaped things in there, so I'm just going to cut that out. And mine also wasn't quite long enough to go over my tacks box, so I cut out an extra piece to go at the top. And I'm just going to glue those right onto the front. And once again, you can't use hot glue on this because it'll melt the Russell Stovers there. Just put on a little bit of glue. And stick it right on the top of your tacks box cover. And if you end up doing the same thing I did, you want to make sure that it's up high enough that it's not going to interfere when the box cover is opening. So that still opens fine. So then I'm just going to coat the rest of the tacks box with some glue. And then put on the full-size piece, or the larger piece. Then I just cut an extra little square out of the remainder of the box to fit over the hole, and once it's together you can barely even see that it's two different pieces. So then for the sides, I'm just going to take a little bit of gold paint and just paint across them to match the top. And then you'll paint gold paint on the inside of the cover as well. And then just leave that to dry. So then your communicator's finished and you can do the famous flip open. Kirk Enterprise. Scotty, come in.